YouTube family, today I'm going to be talking about why most traders never get past the beginner phase. And no, it's not to do with the skill set, it's more to do with the mindset. I'm going to compose everything that I know as to reasons I've seen people not get to the next stage and actually become profitable and the reasons for that. Okay. Number one is going to be based off of accountability. Now, a lot of people say that they hold themselves accountable when it comes to actually executing on trades, but I know that for a foregone conclusion, this just isn't the truth. Now, one of the main takeaways from accountability is understanding when you are pulling the trigger, you actually know the reasons as to why you're pulling the trigger. Now, this isn't to do with FOMO. This isn't necessarily to do with revenge trading and all the things that you're aware of and that you hear. It's more to do with understanding your trading strategy and making sure that when you are entering trades, it is based off of your strategy alone. There's no outside influence. There's no external factors. Maybe you know someone who's profitable that has a bias which goes against your bias. All of these things, right, add to whether or not you're actually going to be able to consistently hold yourself accountable, right? Because when it comes to trading, how I kind of look at it is that there's a theory part of trading, which is going to be you kind of refining your strategy and understanding what it is your confirmations are. And then the practical side of it is basically you engaging in the markets and executing to the best of your ability. A lot of people say that they do the same things and they repeat the same things in the market. But I know that this isn't true because that is why you're not seeing the next stage and the next phase of execution in regards to you actually having a stronger belief system, you actually being able to consistently make money, print profits, withdraw, and things and such. So when it comes to accountability, a lot of people say this in the space, and it sounds simple in terms of holding yourself accountable, but realistically, the amount of people that are not doing things to hold themselves accountable, it's the market's fault, it's the news that came out. All of these things are just excuses as to why you're not actually repetitiously doing the same things when it comes to execution, right? Now, another thing that I want to speak on is not having structure when it comes to actually trading. Now, structure could mean you actually understanding when's the best time for you to trade. Okay, really setting out an intentional time for you actually to divert your attention to trading. It could be not having structure in the sense of understanding what it is your strategy is yet, but you're not actually back testing it. You're not actually doing what is needed to get better. 1 or 2 days a week, right? You might be consistent, but then the rest of the week you're falling off and you're not really actually getting back to it, right? So consistency in trading is going to lead you to having a better structure when it comes to actually knowing, okay, cool, I'm going to be trading the New York session today, or I'm going to trade the London session today, right? So as and when you're going from the phase of having, other responsibilities and basically having to share your time, that's actually a big thing in terms of having a structured day and a structured method in regards to actually implementing your ways. So structure is another thing that I've found that people that are going from the beginner phase or trying to actually master the skill, they don't have the structure in place in regards to what is actually required of them. Now, when you're getting into trading, you need to have already made up your mind in regards to, not even your mind, you need to have already made the decision to commit to the process. Now, there's things that I say in regards to clients that I already have, right, in terms of the commitment process. And when people ask me, how long will it take to become profitable? How long will it take for me to start trading live? Like, these are all questions that I get. And some of them feel like they're questions in regards to trying to find a way to rush the process or trying to find a shortcut in terms of the amount of time necessary. And unfortunately, time is not something that you can kind of just fabricate from an experience perspective. When it comes to gaining experience in trading, time is the best teacher, but at the same time, it's like these are seasonal things. Like, we're in Q4 right now. Q4 is not going to be the same as Q2, just in terms of opportunity perspective, in terms of just seasons, right? There's different volume in the markets. I can't teach you, if you get into trading in Q4, I can't teach you what Q2 is going to be like. You have to experience it. So I feel like when you have no structure and you have no real time to apply these methods and apply your experience over a period of time, right? Because it's not about week to week. It really is, how am I doing each quarter? How did I do the last 3 months? How did I do the previous 3 months, right? You have to have a longer window. So when you have no structure, it gets to a point where you're actually doing yourself a disservice in terms of trying to rush your process or trying to make the structure as quick as it needs to be, the process of gaining that structure, sorry, as quick as it needs to be. So there's things in place that I find with those that are trying to make the jump. They're all experiencing this same impatient nature, is what I would call it. Like, there's no way around it, unfortunately. So I'm always going to speak the truth. I'm always going to tell people what it actually is, not what you want it to sound like or what it could be. I'm going to tell you what it actually is. And those that go for it and do actually get into it, I do think they benefit a lot more long term anyway, because it's like everything that kind of happens, you know, in terms of students that have gone on to become profitable and things like that. They tell me, yeah, I remember when you told me this, or I remember when you said this. So they understand that things that I'm teaching them, I'm not leading you astray, or I'm not giving you information off of a whim or something that I don't personally believe in. I'm never really going to misdirect you or misguide you or anything like that. It's mainly based off experience. It's mainly based off things that I see that have happened. And in terms of shortening the span, I'm going to tell you the information in order to shorten the time span necessary, but it doesn't mean I can still speed up the process, right? So when it comes to gaining structure, guys, I want you to understand something, right? Number one is being honest with yourself, and that goes back to the first point about accountability. And number two is that the commitment process needs to already be decided by you before you actually get into it. Otherwise, the results are going to be mixed. It might be sporadic trading that you're doing. You're not actually taking the same amount of entries in regards to your confirmations, or you're looking elsewhere. Maybe you're taking signals. All of these things long term are not really going to benefit you in terms of you actually depending on yourself and becoming the signal, right? A lot of people have asked me before, do I give signals? No. The reason for that is because, again, it goes back to the impatience of that people waiting for that service, right? I've had it before where people will be like, you know, oh, is there no trades today? Or giving you kind of like an added incentive to want to trade, where sometimes it's like my pairs ain't actually doing anything, but because I'm potentially giving a service to other people, I'm kind of just like doing whatever. I'm kind of just throwing out whatever for the sake of getting, oh yeah, I gave out 3 trades today. I gave out 4 trades this week, or whatever it may be. That type of service, right, all goes back to the impatience of people that are not really willing to structure their time properly, and want to shorten the learning curve. There's just no way of doing that. So the third point that I want to kind of get into as to why people struggle to actually make the jump is getting out of their emotions and learning to actually really detach from the outcome. Okay, now again, this is something that's spoken about in the industry, right? But it's not really spoken about to a level that people can digest and understand. It just sounds like buzzwords, I'll be honest with you, because when I first heard it, you need to detach from the result. It's like, okay, cool, yeah, I get that, but do you really understand what detaching means, right? So placing a trade where money is on the line, right, can result in you becoming emotional because there's something at stake. Depending on what that monetary value means to you, is going to make you more emotional or less emotional, right? But at the same time, when money is on the line, you should have the same approach to it regardless. It doesn't matter if it's £200, it doesn't matter if it's £500. You should have the same approach in regards to how serious you're taking the trade, because you shouldn't be entering with the mindset of, you know, oh, it's only X amount. I don't really matter. It doesn't really matter what the outcome is. You shouldn't really think like that, because at the end of the day, it kind of sets you up to basically accept the outcome if it's wrong. And it goes back to not reinforcing bad habits, in which I spoke about on my last video. So if you haven't gone and check that out, check it out. There's a lot of tips that are, you know, for those that are beginner, you should be applying in regards to just the psychological edge and overcoming yourself, because that's what trading is about also. But when it comes to detaching and actually understanding how to get out of your emotional side when you're trading, right, it comes down to actually reinvigorating yourself in terms of your belief system, and also having a belief that the trades that you're putting on, and the system that you're using to actually place these trades, you actually think that, okay, the hit rate works, okay, I've got a good win rate. And not to say win rate is everything, but you believe in what it is you're applying to the chart in order to get into the trade. When you have a strong belief system in regards to what your confirmations are, what your actual strategy is, right? That is how you really learn to detach from the outcome. If you don't, you're not going to be able to detach from the outcome. So again, when you hear these buzzwords, or you hear these topics in regards to this is what you need to do, it goes back to theory and practical. So when it comes to the theory part, this is what you're learning, this is what you're trying to implement. But the practical side of it, right, isn't as easy as what it sounds in terms of this is what you need to do. So emotional detachment, right, comes from you actually building yourself and gaining the skills needed as a trader. That is how you get emotional detachment from outcomes. And until you realize that and recognize that, you're going to be going in the full, the circles that you're probably going through right now. Is because emotionally, maybe you're getting attracted to trades because you've got a deadline to meet, or you're trying to hit a target, or you need money to pay for X, Y, and Z, right? All of these things create the emotional resistance in regards to you now fighting the markets, or trying to basically fight the markets, and that never ends well long term. You probably won't even have a good week trying to fight the markets. So why I'm saying that in terms of just emotional detachment is maybe you're not ready to go live yet. Maybe you're not ready to buy that funded account yet, right? So the reason I want you to kind of figure out where you are and really listen to what I'm saying is that that might apply to you. And where you may have confidence in your strategy, you have to really look at it like long term, what has this done for me so far? Am I ready to trade these type of accounts yet? And with that understanding comes the confidence. I'm telling you, once you gain an understanding and a real understanding in your system, the confidence then comes from it, right? There'll be days where you might not have a trade, but you're still confident in when your pairs and when the actual trades become visible. I don't want you to think there's always going to be a clear and obvious indication. I don't want you to think that the market's going to give you something every day or even every week. Sometimes the market needs time to engineer liquidity, engineer setup, so that you can actually get back on board, right? So a lot of these things I feel like people struggle with who are beginners coming into it because they have no accountability, no structure, and they can't detach from their emotions. They don't really know what it means to do that. So all of these things, guys, are recipes for disaster in terms of not actually overcoming them. And all of them are to do with the internal work. It all is to do with you overcoming yourself and actually getting to a point where it's like, okay, I've mastered certain areas in which I have major flaws in. And we all have flaws, right? Everything is about, self-evolution and obviously getting to that next step. But at the same time, it's also about letting us know what do we struggle with and what are we actually is going on in our lives right now that we have to actually overcome. So once you're able to pinpoint those things, you'll start to connect the dots on the things that you need to work towards. And once you actually figure out how to do that, is when the results will start coming in. Now, one of the biggest obstacles that I hear from traders who are beginners trying to get into trading and actually make the jump and start to see consistency is they all tell me that they chase setups and they're aware that they're chasing setups, right? But they don't know how to actually stop doing that. Now, again, when it comes to theory, okay, and you say stop chasing the market, right? These are all things that in theory are easy to do. But when you're in it and you're practically engaging in the markets, right, and you're trying to apply your strategy, there's so many external factors that I know that these guys are overlooking as to the reasons that they're entering the market or trying to engage in the market. Chasing setups is to do with revenge trading, it's to do with fear of missing out. Maybe the market's moved and they was waiting for the market to actually go in that direction. They've seen it, but they're not on board. So now that they're chasing the market, it could be that. It could be again, having certain guidelines and things that need to be completed within a certain time, whether it be proper counts or something, right? And when they're engaging in the markets, these external factors, okay, are not actually at the forefront of their thought process, excuse me. And when it gets to that point, you know you're in trouble. You're in serious problems because you're now on a downward spiral of think of the negative charge that is connected to all of those things, right? There's nothing positive about that. There's nothing calm about that. Okay. And the calming nature of trading is what you actually have in your power to consistently do. And why I say that is because You're pulling the trigger. You're the one buying or selling. No one is setting a limit at certain price points. No one's putting their stop loss at certain areas, right? These are things that are all in your control. So when it comes to your approach, you can keep it as calm as it needs to be. But if those external things are creeping into your thought process, it's not going to be calm. It's going to be panic. It's going to be impatience. It's going to be rushing. All things that have a negative charge tied to it, right? Nothing good long term comes from all of those things listed. So chasing setups is one of the things that I hear students who message me frequently, and they're like, how did I overcome this? Or this is what I'm struggling with. You tell them you shouldn't be doing that, but again, it all links back to your system. It all links back to your belief in your confirmations. It all links back into the reasons you're actually entering the trades, right? As and when they present themselves. So if you don't believe in a trade, why enter the market? If you don't have confirmation showing up that you're looking for, why enter the market? Okay. These are things that you have to really sit and think about, because if you don't, you're just going to be burning money and you're going to be in that loop of beginner. You're not actually progressing to the state where you want to get. And in terms of just speaking on it, it's better to actually have an understanding of yourself and what it is you're struggling with, so that you know what it is you need to actually overcome, right? So in regards to people that have gone through my mentorship from a beginner to novice to advanced and actually trading by themselves and having setups mapped out by themselves, the distinguishing things was generating the belief system, right? In terms of knowing what their setup is, right? And waiting for it, rather than just figuring things out with experience, but no real structure and no real accountability. So everything in terms of your setups and in terms of your actual confirmations should actually create your belief system, as and when you repetitiously show, okay, cool, this is showing up, this is what I'm waiting for, this is what I'm looking for, and executing on that, rather than sporadic reasons as to why you're entering and exiting the market, right? So those are the things that, if you really get a hold of, you will make the jump. The consistency will come, the results will come. But how many are willing to actually go through that process to really understand where it is the faults may lie? And that's the problem with trading as a whole. I feel like the impatience factor is so massive, like super massive. And, a lot of people want instant gratification, or they want to kind of yield the results within a certain amount of time, but there's really no instant gratification in this. More so, there's kind of painful moments at the beginning that start to ease and then turn into successful moments if you actually have a system in place. Now, again, there's just no quick turnaround for that, unfortunately, and there shouldn't be an expectation of, I need to have this down by 6 months. Because of the experience and everyone learning at different paces, we have to understand ourselves throughout this whole process more than anything. So yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to speak on in this video today, in regards to just, I know what you guys are going through. I know you want to make the jump, but you're just kind of in that rut. Now, if you're tired of being in the 99% and you want to make that jump, that's exactly what I provide inside the Profit Collective. So hit the link in the bio. Yes, it's going to be a 12-week program. There is other options as well. But nonetheless, that is the process, guys. There's no real way of getting this through to you within a 2-week, 3-week crash course. It's just impossible, because the amount of information that needs to be applied, unfortunately, comes over time and experience, okay? So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys on the next one.